I get it, you're standing in the kitchen, holding a stack of deli-style meats or a loaf of fresh sourdough, and you're wondering if splurging on a slicer is worth it. You've probably watched a dozen videos where someone slaps a cheap blade onto a countertop and ends up with uneven slices or a wobbling mess that makes you question why you even thought about buying a slicer in the first place. The fear of ending up with a piece of equipment that takes up space, needs constant tweaking, or just sits there gathering dust is real, especially when you're trying to keep the budget tight. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through why the Globe Food Equipment G12 G-Series 12-inch medium-duty manual slicer might be the middle ground you've been hunting for, and when it's better to walk away. First off, think about the kind of slicing you actually do day to day. If you're a home chef who enjoys making club sandwiches, prepping charcuterie boards, or carving thin layers of cheese for a wine night, you need something that can give you consistent 12mm cuts without forcing you to use a kitchen shears or a serrated knife. On the other hand, if you only ever need a few slices of a baguette a month, a simple chef's knife probably does the job just fine. The G12 sits right in that sweet spot for people who slice regularly but don't run a full-time deli out of their kitchen. The first thing I noticed when I pulled the box out of the delivery bag was the compact footprint. At just under a foot wide, the unit can slide onto a standard kitchen counter without crowding other appliances, which is a big win for anyone with limited prep space. The compact size also makes it easier to store it in a pantry or even a garage if you only bring it out when you have a slicing project. It's not a wall-mountable beast that requires a dedicated workstation, so you can test it out on a weekend and put it back when you're done. Durability is where the G12 starts to earn its reputation. The frame is built from a thick gauge metal that feels solid when you press down on the handle, and the blade housing is reinforced with a stainless steel cover that keeps the edge from wobbling. You won't hear that cheap plastic flex that some entry-level slicers have, which means the blade stays aligned even after you've sliced through a dense loaf of rye or a slab of smoked turkey. In practice, that translates to smoother operation. There's less jiggle and more confidence that each pass will give you an even slice. For someone who's had a blade drift off after a few uses, this sturdiness can save you the hassle of constantly readjusting the guide. Ease of operation is another practical point. The G12 uses a simple hand crank that moves the blade across the carriage in a linear motion. There's no electric motor to worry about, which eliminates the need for a power outlet and removes the noise factor. Turning the crank feels light enough that you don't get wrist fatigue after a few minutes, but heavy enough that the blade doesn't skip forward unintentionally. The thickness adjustment knob is intuitive. You can set it to a specific slice thickness and it stays put. In my tests, moving from a paper-thin cheese slice to a 1/4-inch hem cut was a matter of a quick turn, without having to stop and recalibrate. That kind of simplicity is a lifesaver when you're prepping a crowd and need to switch between items fast. Maintenance is often the hidden cost of a kitchen tool, and the G12 tries to keep it low. The blade can be lifted out of its housing without needing any special tools. Just release the latch, slide the blade out, and give it a quick rinse. The metal surfaces can be wiped down with a damp cloth, and because there's no motor, you avoid dealing with electrical parts that could corrode over time. The downside, though, is that the blade isn't serrated, so if you ever need to slice through very crusty bread or a tough vegetable like a squash, you might find yourself needing a little extra force or a different tool. It's not a deal breaker, but something to be aware of if you plan on using the slicer for a wide range of foods. Now, let's talk about who will actually get value out of this machine. If you run a small catering side hustle, prepare weekly meal prep boxes, or love hosting gatherings where presentation matters, the G12 can shave minutes off your prep time and give you that professional-look slice that impresses guests. The consistent cuts also help with portion control, which is a subtle but important benefit for anyone tracking macros or trying to keep servings uniform. Because the unit is manual, you won't have to worry about electricity costs or noisy motors, making it a good fit for outdoor kitchens or temporary setups at a farmer's market booth. Conversely, if your kitchen routine is more about